Number 1.
Rosemary Ann Christensen was born on September 1, 1955 in Australia to parents Margaret Leslie and Frank Christensen. For years, Christensen traveled around the world with her husband, a diplomat from the Dutch Foreign Service. The couple had 2 sons together. In 1996, Christensen moved to the U.S. when her marriage fell apart. She decided to settle in Florida with Robert Glenn Temple, whom she met online. On July 13, 1997, Christensen and Temple were involved in a domestic violence incident. She suffered a swollen eye and cuts to her face that needed stitches. She declined to assist in his prosecution and Temple was only given a fine. In August 1997, Christensen and Temple married, about 3 weeks after the incident. In 1998, they moved to a condominium at 1706 Bel Air Forest Drive in Bel Air, Florida. In 1999, Christensen was employed as a real estate agent by Century 21, Beggins Enterprises in Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. At the time of Rosemary Christensen's disappearance, Temple was having an affair with then 22-year-old Leslie Stewart. She was also married, and worked alongside him at a telemarketing center. On August 26, 1999, Christensen met a client for a property showing at 5 p.m. She spoke to a coworker over the phone around 5:15 p.m. Temple said he saw her at home that evening, and that she left their condominium between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. to go out with someone he did not know, and that she never came home. On August 27, 1999, Temple left with his girlfriend, Leslie Stewart, at 3 p.m. for Decatur, Illinois, to visit family members. He tried to call Christensen but couldn't reach her. On August 30, 1999, Christensen's co-workers at the real estate office contacted the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office when she failed to show up for work. Inside the couple's condominium, investigators discovered a freshly painted wall in the bedroom, a torn-up carpet, and blood stains in an incense box. Her car was parked outside the condominium. Investigators learned that Christensen consulted an attorney about a divorce shortly before her disappearance. She was also communicating online with a man in South Carolina. On the morning after Christensen disappeared, authorities discovered through credit card statements that Temple and his girlfriend purchased $73.51 worth of cleaning products, painting supplies, large trash bags, and a storage container from a Walmart in Largo, Florida. In 1974, Robert Glenn Temple pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter related to the death of his then-girlfriend's infant son. The 18-month-old boy was discovered dead in the bathtub of a Californian hotel room, with wounds and bruises on his body. He served 5 years in prison. 47-year-old Temple told authorities that he last saw his wife at their condo on the night of her disappearance. He suggested that she might have disappeared with another man she met online and gone back to Australia. Temple has not been charged in connection with her disappearance, and was not named a suspect. Soon after her disappearance, Temple left the state with his girlfriend, and became uncooperative with investigators. They lived in a trailer pulled by a pickup truck and moved around the country, stopping in Illinois, Arizona, and California. Temple did not work and was receiving disability checks. Stewart worked intermittently as an apartment manager. Witness leads authorities to missing woman near Sewanee River. In September 2008, Leslie Stewart contacted police in Silverton, Washington. She said that Temple allegedly threatened to kill her and her daughter with a knife if she didn't return from a family reunion. Stewart eventually confessed that she believes Temple killed Rosemary Christensen. In 1999, Stewart went to the condo he shared with his wife, and discovered Christensen's deceased body in a pool of blood on the floor. Temple told her she accidentally died in a struggle after she tried to attack him with a knife. Stewart was then convinced to help clean up the crime scene and bury the body in a property owned by her father. On September 8, 2008, Stewart led authorities to Christensen's whereabouts. Her body was discovered inside a storage container, buried in a wooded area south of County Road 344 along the Suwannee River in Pinellas County, Florida. Autopsy results showed that Christensen had been stabbed, and that she died from sharp force trauma. The sweater she was wearing contained 3 slits, which were not consistent with having fallen on a knife. Husband charged with murder in death of Rosemary Christensen. On September 5, 2008, Robert Glenn Temple was arrested in Redding, California on suspicion of making terrorist threats and assault with a deadly weapon. On September 10, 2008, Robert Glenn Temple was charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife, Rosemary Christensen. Stewart received immunity in exchange for her testimony against Temple. On July 30, 2011, Robert Glenn Temple was found guilty of first-degree murder in Rosemary Christensen's death. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. On December 11, 2018, Robert Glenn Temple died in prison. The cause of death was not listed.
Number 2.
The Jamison family were last seen in Red Oak, Oklahoma on October 8, 2009. Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison disappeared while shopping for land in Oklahoma along with their 6-year-old daughter Madison. The Jamison family lived in a house on Eufaula Lake. The family was originally from the Oklahoma City area, but had moved to Eufaula, Alabama. In 2003, Bobby was involved in a car accident, and as a result, he suffered from chronic back pain. He and Sherilyn Jamison did not work, and were both receiving disability checks. In 2007, Sherilyn's sister died from a bee sting on her tongue. The death reportedly left her devastated, which led her to suffer from bipolar disorder. At some point, she was hospitalized due to a failed suicide attempt. Sherilyn had a 12-year-old son from a previous relationship who lived with the family. In July 2009, her ex-husband gained full-time custody of their son. A few weeks before the family went missing, Sherilyn's son moved back to Oklahoma City to live with his father. This reportedly worsened the family's finances as she subsequently stopped receiving child support. On October 8, 2009, Bobby, his wife Sherilyn, and their daughter Madison drove to Red Oak, in southeastern Oklahoma to scout for land to purchase and meet a landowner in the area. The family was considering purchasing a 40-acre plot of land near the Sans Bois Mountains. They were planning to move a large storage container parked on their property in Eufaula Lake and live in it. When the meeting was done, Bobby parked his pickup truck, and the family went for a short walk, using their GPS to find a spot on the hillside to rest. Soon after, they returned to the vehicle and drove away. The Jamison family never returned home and have not been heard from again. On October 16, 2009, the Jamisons' pickup truck was found, abandoned by hunters in a remote well pad site, near the land the family was considering buying, south of the town of Kinta in Latimer County, Oklahoma. No signs of foul play were found on the scene where the vehicle was found, and it appeared the family planned to return to the car. The pickup truck doors were locked, and the family's small black and white dog was found inside in a state of starvation. Authorities found clothing, shoes, Bobby's wallet, the couple's IDs, cell phones, and a GPS inside the car. $32,000 in cash was also discovered beneath the driver's seat in a bank envelope, which was deemed odd as the family was on disability benefits. Investigators recovered footage from surveillance cameras mounted at the family's Eufaula Lake house, time-stamped on the day they left. The footage showed Bobby and Sherilyn making several trips between their pickup truck and home. Their movements were described as trance-like. In May 2009, Bobby filed a civil lawsuit in Oklahoma County District Court against his father, 67-year-old Bob Dean Jamison. For several years, Bobby reportedly worked for free at his parents' Oklahoma City gas station, under the premise that he would get half the money from any sale, but his father allegedly reneged on the agreement. That same month, Bobby also filed for an order of protection against his father. In the petition, Bobby stated that his father threatened his family with violence on at least 2 occasions, in November 2008 and in April 2009. The protective order request was dismissed, but the civil case remained open at the time of the family's disappearance. In December 2009, Bob Dean Jamison died, just 2 months after the Jamisons went missing. Madison was named the sole beneficiary of his estate, cutting out his ex-wife Starlet Jamison and his son Bobby in a will dated October 27, 2008. Missing family found deceased in Red Oak, Oklahoma. On November 16, 2013, skeletal remains of 2 adults and 1 child were discovered by 2 hunters in Red Oak, Oklahoma, less than 3 miles away from where the family's pickup truck was first discovered. On July 3, 2014, the 3 sets of remains were identified as the Jamison family by the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. Autopsy results were inconclusive due to incomplete skeletal remains and carnivore or rodent damage to the bones. As there were no signs of trauma, the cause of death for each family member was listed as unknown. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of the Jamison family, please contact the Latimer County Sheriff's Department at 918-465-4012.
Number 3.
17-year-old Kara Kopetsky was last seen in Belton, Missouri, on May 4, 2007. She disappeared after she walked out of Belton High School, skipping 3rd period. Kara Elise Kopetsky was born on February 17, 1990, in Frankfurt, Germany, to parents Rhonda Beckford and Michael Kopetsky. Kara was in her junior year at Belton High School and worked after school as a cashier at Popeye's Chicken in Belton. In April 2007, Kara ended a 9-month relationship with 18-year-old Kylr Yust. The two had been dating on and off since the fall of 2006. On April 28, 2007, Kara told police that her ex-boyfriend Kylr Yust allegedly kidnapped her and forced her into his vehicle when she was leaving work that evening. He drove around before she was eventually able to escape in Grandview, Missouri. On April 30, 2007, Kara filed for an order of protection against Yust in Cass County. She stated that he had kidnapped, restrained, and choked her in the past, and she was afraid the abuse would get worse. On the morning of May 4, 2007, Kara's mother dropped her off at Belton High School. Her mother later returned to the school to bring her a textbook and her work uniform, dropping them off at the front desk. Around 9:19 a.m., Kara was captured by security video walking down the hall of the school, likely to skip 3rd period, which she did quite often. Kara never returned to school or home, and has not been heard from since. That evening Kara's mother filed a missing persons report to the Belton Police Department when she failed to return home after school. Kara left behind all her personal belongings at her house, including an entire carton of cigarettes, minus 1 pack, and an iPod she had just gotten for Christmas. Her debit card was found in her school locker, and there has been no activity on her bank account since her disappearance. Her cell phone and purse were missing. 18-year-old Kylr Yust had recently broken up with Kara Kopetsky, and she had filed an order of protection against him 4 days before she went missing. On May 6, 2007, Yust told police that he didn't have any contact with Kara on the day of her disappearance. He said he had a missed call from Kara around 11 a.m. that morning, but she didn't answer when he tried to return the call. However, phone records revealed that Kara made a phone call to him at 9:13 a.m., and he called her back at 9:20 a.m., just 1 minute after she was last seen leaving high school on surveillance video. Yust denied involvement in her disappearance, and subsequently refused to answer any questions about the discrepancy in the information he had given. He passed a lie detector test and had an alibi for the morning she went missing. On November 22, 2013, Yust was convicted for an unrelated drug trafficking charge and sentenced to 4 years in federal prison outside of Oklahoma City. Between 2010 and 2016, several witnesses, including a former roommate, ex-girlfriend, and cell inmate told police that Yust admitted to strangling Kara to death and hiding her body in an undisclosed wooded area. On September 8, 2016, 21-year-old Jessica Runyons disappeared after leaving a party at a home in Grandview, Missouri at approximately 11 p.m. She was last seen accompanied by Kylr Yust, who was a childhood friend of her boyfriend. According to witnesses, Yust, who had been released from prison 2 days prior, was drinking heavily at the party and he and Runyons were seen arguing. On September 10, 2016, Runyons' vehicle, a black 2012 Chevrolet Equinox, was found abandoned and burned in a wooded area of 95th Street and Blue River Road in South Kansas City, Missouri. On September 11, 2016, Yust was arrested and charged with knowingly burning Jessica Runyons' vehicle. He pleaded not guilty and awaited trial in Jackson County Jail. Missing women found deceased in Belton, Missouri. On April 3, 2017, human remains were discovered by a mushroom hunter in the area of 233rd Street and Y Highway in Belton, Missouri. On April 4, 2017, police conducted an extensive search of the wooded area and recovered a second set of remains that appeared to be much older. On April 5, 2017, the first set of remains were identified as Jessica Runyons by the Kansas City Medical Examiner's Office and Kansas City Crime Lab. On August 16, 2017, the second set of remains were identified as Kara Kopetsky at the FBI Crime Laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. Kylr Yust charged with murder in deaths of Kopetsky and Runyons. On October 6, 2017, Kylr Yust was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and 2 counts of abandoning a corpse related to the disappearance, and murder of Kara Kopetsky in 2007 and Jessica Runyons in 2016. On April 15, 2021, Kylr Yust was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter in Kara Kopetsky's death, and second-degree murder in Jessica Runyons' death. On June 7, 2021, Kylr Yust was sentenced to 45 years in prison after the judge accepted the jury's recommended maximum sentence in his murder trial. His 15-year sentence for Kara Kopetsky's death and life imprisonment for Jessica Runyons will be served consecutively.
Number 4.
25-year-old Timothy Carney was last seen in Butler, New Jersey on September 28, 2004. He disappeared on his way to morning prayer at the Gospel Outreach Church. Timothy Edward Carney was born on August 22, 1979 to parents Ed and Phyllis Carney. Carney attended Montclair State University with an English major. During college, he became a member of the Christian Church Gospel Outreach, a religious organization led by Jim Lethbridge, based in Pequannock. Carney was employed at the Department of Labor in Elizabeth, New Jersey. He lived in an apartment complex on Butler Ridge with a roommate, who was also a member of the church. Friends and family said that Carney became more committed to the church over the years. As he was donating a large portion of his salary to the church, Carney would sometimes borrow from co-workers for lunch, or to pay tolls on the way home when he was low on money. His former girlfriend was also a church member. On the morning of September 28, 2004, Carney was seen leaving his apartment by his roommate at 5 a.m. He failed to show up at a 7 a.m. church prayer meeting that was part of his usual routine. By 8:20 a.m., Carney called his supervisor to say he would be late for work due to the rain. Carney never made it to work that morning, and has not been heard from again. On October 7, 2004, Carney's car, a 2000 green Chrysler Concorde LXI, was found abandoned on the side of the road near a construction site at the border of Elizabeth and Newark. He left behind all his personal belongings at his apartment. A few days later, an ATM surveillance video captured a man, wearing a baseball cap with his face obscured, withdrawing $1,000 from Carney's bank account. The Christian Church Gospel Outreach is part of a small evangelical Christian movement that started in a Northern California commune during the early 1970s. The Pequannock congregation in New Jersey was led by Reverend James R. Lethbridge, and had about 35 members at the time. The gospel outreach had been accused of engaging in cult-like behavior in a lawsuit filed by a former member. Church members were allegedly pressured through intimidation and emotional abuse to give large donations of their salaries, and some gave up their careers to work in companies connected to the church. The church denied involvement in Timothy Carney's disappearance. Instead, they claimed that he had been sent by former church members and other critics to a cult deprogramming center in Ohio called Wellspring Retreat and Resource Center. Missing butler man found alive after 7 years. On September 23, 2011, Timothy Carney was found alive. His parents were notified, but he did not wish to disclose his whereabouts. Authorities managed to talk to him, and he was subsequently cleared from the missing persons database.
Number 5.
45-year-old John Glasgow was last seen in Little Rock, Arkansas, on January 28, 2008. He disappeared after driving away from his home in the early morning hours for work. John William Glasgow was born in Nashville, Tennessee to parents Fern Carol Rozick and Thomas Cortland Glasgow. He was the youngest of 5 siblings. Glasgow attended Nashville High School and graduated from University of Central Arkansas with a Master of Business Administration degree in 1985. He was also licensed as a certified public accountant. In 1990, Glasgow was hired by CDI Contractors LLC of Little Rock, an Arkansas-based firm providing construction services across the United States. In 1995, Glasgow was promoted to Chief Financial Officer. In the summer of 1992, Glasgow married former high school classmate Melinda Glasgow. The couple lived in a house on South Lookout Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. On January 26 and 27, 2008, Glasgow spent much of the weekend at the CDI Contractors LLC office at 3000 Cantrell Road. On Sunday evening, he accompanied his wife for a dinner party across the street hosted by his older brother. When the party ended, the couple returned home, and John fell asleep in front of the television while his wife went to bed upstairs. On the morning of January 28, 2008, Glasgow was seen driving away from his home by a neighbor around 5:15 a.m. toward Point Circle, likely in the direction of work. John Glasgow never made it to his company office that morning, and has not been heard from since. Around 2:30 p.m., Glasgow's wife was contacted by one of his co-workers saying that he failed to show up for work that morning and could not be reached on his cell phone. Sensing something was wrong, she contacted John's brother, requesting him to meet at their home. They made calls to their friends and family, hoping someone had heard from him. A next-door neighbor reported seeing him leaving for work at 5:15 a.m., but that seemed odd since it was too early for him to be leaving for work. At 5:54 p.m., his wife Melinda filed a missing persons report to the Little Rock Police Department. When police arrived at their home, Melinda pointed out a notepad where John had written their bank account number and lock combination. Nothing was found missing from the safe. On January 29, 2008, Glasgow's gray Volvo SUV was found parked in the parking lot in front of Mather Lodge in Petit Jean State Park in Conway County, about an hour's drive from his home. A Tennessee tourist captured a photo proving that the vehicle was there as early as 4:30 p.m. the previous day. The car was unlocked with his laptop computer, company-issued cell phone, and credit cards inside. The Petit Jean State Park rescue team began a 5-day search for John, and his vehicle was taken by police to process for further evidence. No further evidence pointing to John's whereabouts were found. His bank account and cell phone records showed no activity on the day of his disappearance. His passport was left in his personal safe at home. At the time of his disappearance, Glasgow was said to be in a strained relationship with executives of Dillard's Inc., half-owner of CDI Contractors. Along with other CDI executives, he was in negotiations to purchase half of the company, which became available after the death of the company's co-founder. On April 13, 2011, John Glasgow was legally declared dead by a Pulaski County Circuit Court judge. In 2011, 43-year-old twice-convicted felon Jonathan Bronner told his lawyer and the Little Rock Police Department that he knew the location where Glasgow's body was buried. Bronner was serving time at Faulkner County Jail for the attempted kidnapping of a Conway County businessman in July 2009 and for stalking his ex-wife in October 2010. Bronner told police that he had been recruited by thugs from Malvern, to whom he owed money, to help bury the body of Glasgow in a bean field near England in Lonoke County. Despite extensive searches at the bean field Bronner pinpointed as the burial site, no sign of Glasgow was found. Police believe that Bronner tried to use his alleged involvement in the Glasgow case in hopes of bargaining for a reduced sentence. Missing man's body found in Petit Jean Mountain, Arkansas. On March 11, 2015, 7 years after John disappeared, skeletal remains were discovered by 2 hikers at the base of a cliff about 150 yards off Red Bluff Drive in Petit Jean Mountain, Arkansas. The remains were found within a mile of where John's vehicle was last seen parked, along with a wallet containing a driver's license and credit card. On March 12, 2015, the human remains were positively identified through dental records as belonging to John Glasgow by the Arkansas State Crime Lab. Examiners found no evidence of trauma to the skull, nor did they find a firearm. The cause of death could not be determined. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of John Glasgow, please contact the Little Rock Police Department at 5013714829.